Welcome to our channel of learning and sharing experience, The Catalyst. Episode 1. Grapevine Communication. It is Monday morning. A project team of 20 people files into the office for their weekly stand-up. The project is 8 weeks in, 2 months from deadline. Things have been moving, not perfectly, but moving. Then the project manager, Marcus, notices something. The energy in the room is wrong. 3 developers are staring at their laptops. 2 team members are whispering in the corner. The QA lead has not made eye contact with anyone. Marcus asks, "How is everyone doing today?" The room goes quiet. "Fine." "Yeah, fine." Nobody says what they are all thinking. Here is what Marcus does not know. Over the weekend, a team member had sent a message in a private group chat. The message said, "Heard from Sarah that the client is really unhappy with the timeline. They might pull the plug on the project." By Sunday evening, 16 of 20 team members had read it. 3 had quietly updated their professional profiles online. 1 had already contacted a recruiter. And here is the thing. None of it was true. Sarah had overheard a passing comment about timeline pressure in a corridor. A 10-second remark, taken out of context, forwarded without a second thought. By Monday morning, the 10-second remark had completely rewritten the team's reality. That is grapevine communication. And as a project manager, it is one of the most powerful forces you will ever deal with. Welcome to The Catalyst. Let us get into it. Grapevine communication is the informal, unofficial network of information exchange that exists inside every organization. It has no owner, no agenda. It does not follow your org chart or your project plan. It just flows, person to person, through trust networks, across teams and time zones. A management researcher named Keith Davis studied this in the 1950s and found something remarkable. About 75% of information inside an organization travels through the grapevine before it ever appears in an official announcement. 3/4 of what your team knows, or thinks they know, came through informal channels first. Projects are one of the most grapevine-active environments in any organization. They create uncertainty by design. Timelines shift. Requirements change. Stakeholders push back. Resources get reallocated. Wherever people do not have the full picture, the grapevine fills the gap. The grapevine is not a character flaw in your team. It is a deeply human response to specific conditions. When people feel anxious, they talk. When they feel left out, they speculate. When they do not feel safe raising concerns formally, they raise them informally instead. The grapevine is your project culture speaking to you. Learn to listen to it rather than shut it down. And it will tell you things no status report ever will. Not all grapevine communication travels the same way. Research has identified 4 distinct patterns, and understanding them helps you predict how fast and how far information will spread on your team. The first is the single strand. A classic chain. Person A tells person B, who tells person C, the slowest pattern. By the 5th or 6th link, the original message is often unrecognizable. The second is the gossip chain. One person becomes the hub and tells everyone directly. Spreads fast and stays more consistent, but is heavily shaped by one individual's interpretation. The third is the probability chain. More random. Someone hears something and passes it to a few people at random. Those people do the same. Coverage is patchy and inconsistent. The fourth, and most dangerous in professional settings, is the cluster chain. A person shares information selectively with a small trusted inner circle. Each person in that circle shares with their own trusted circle, and so on. Why is this the most dangerous? Because it travels through trust networks. When your most respected colleague tells you something quietly, you believe it. You do not fact-check your trusted people the same way you might a casual acquaintance. Here is what that looks like in practice. A senior engineer on a construction project hears a passing comment that a vendor might be delayed. She mentions it to 4 trusted colleagues over lunch. Within 48 hours, 35 of 60 team members believe the entire project is about to halt. The original information? A possible 2-day delay. Nothing more. That is the cluster chain in action. So why does the grapevine get louder during the most critical moments of a project? 5 psychological triggers feed it. The first trigger is uncertainty. Human beings are wired to fill information gaps. When a decision is pending, when scope is being evaluated, when a key stakeholder has gone quiet, your team does not sit patiently. They speculate. They fill the vacuum with the most plausible explanation available. The second trigger is anxiety. Grapevine activity spikes during stressful periods. Budget reviews, restructures, project crises. When people are worried, they talk more, not less. It is how humans process fear collectively. The third trigger is social bonding. Sharing information, even unverified information, is a social currency. When someone says, "I heard something you should know," they are not just passing on data. They are building a relationship. That instinct does not disappear just because you are at work. The fourth trigger is lack of psychological safety. When team members feel they cannot raise concerns through official channels, when the culture punishes honesty, those concerns go underground. The grapevine becomes the safe space for the things that cannot be said formally. The fifth trigger is information asymmetry. When it becomes visible that leadership knows something the team does not, even temporarily, the team notices. And they start trying to figure out what is being withheld. One critical point on accuracy. In stable, low-anxiety environments, Keith Davis found grapevine information to be accurate around 70 to 80% of the time. But during crisis, that drops sharply, sometimes below 40%. The more anxious people are, the more their interpretations are distorted by fear. A concern becomes a crisis. A delay becomes a cancellation. A tough conversation becomes a termination. By the fifth retelling, the message bears almost no resemblance to the original. This is the broken telephone effect, and it is extremely common in project environments. Now multiply everything we have talked about by 10. Because the modern grapevine does not wait for people to be in the same building. Today, it lives in WhatsApp groups, Slack side channels, private direct messages. In a physical conversation, information reaches 5 or 6 people over an afternoon. A single forwarded message in a GTL channel can reach a 200-person project group in under 60 seconds. And unlike a corridor conversation that fades, screenshots exist permanently, forwarded in panic at 11 at night, read the next morning by someone who was not part of the original conversation, stripped of all context. For project managers of distributed or hybrid teams, this is especially dangerous. You cannot see it happening. With a physical grapevine, you can sense the temperature in the room. With a digital one, by the time you find out what is circulating, the damage is already done. Your communication strategy must specifically account for the digital grapevine, its speed, its permanence, and its cross-boundary reach. Let us come back to Marcus. He senses something is off at that Monday stand-up, but does not address it directly. He runs the meeting as normal and moves on. He does not know what his team is carrying. Over the next 3 days, 2 of his most senior developers are distracted. Output slows. A critical code review is missed. A bug makes it through to staging. The client notices and raises a formal concern, the very thing the rumor had predicted. Not because the project was failing, but because the rumor had caused the very performance dip that made it look like it was. This is what makes grapevine communication so insidious in project environments. It can become self-fulfilling. A rumor about failure creates the anxiety that reduces performance, that creates the evidence that confirms the rumor. Marcus made both classic mistakes. He left an information vacuum, and when the rumor circulated, he stayed silent, hoping it would die down. Silence in response to a rumor is almost always read as confirmation. If it were not true, they would have denied it. That is how your team thinks. So what do you actually do about all of this? Here are 6 tools that work. The first is the weekly pulse message. Every Friday, send a brief human note to your entire team. Not a status report. A genuine 5 to 7 line message from you. What went well this week? What changed? What is coming next week? And one thing you're still working through. This one habit closes the information vacuum before it opens. Teams that receive consistent, honest updates have dramatically lower grapevine activity. The second tool is using your stand-up as a rumor neutralizer. End each stand-up with a simple open question. Has anyone heard anything this week that needs clarifying? You create a formal channel for informal concerns to surface safely. Rumors addressed in a stand-up disappear quickly. Rumors never mentioned grow. The third tool is identifying your informal leaders. Every team has them. Not always the senior people, but the people through whom information naturally flows. Know who they are. Brief them before major announcements. Not to leak information, but to give them context and ask for their support. You turn the grapevine into an ally rather than an adversary. The fourth tool is the rumor response protocol. When you detect a damaging rumor, respond within 24 hours through official channels. Acknowledge it directly. Give the accurate version clearly. Follow up in your next team meeting. Then ask yourself, what communication gap allowed this rumor to start? Close that gap. The fifth tool is regular one-on-ones. Brief, informal conversations between you and individual team members give people a safe, formal channel to raise concerns before they go underground. And they give you direct visibility into what is circulating informally. A project manager who does regular one-on-ones will almost always hear rumors before they cause damage. The sixth tool is communicating during uncertainty. You do not need all the answers. You just need to fill the vacuum. I'm still working through this and will update you. By Thursday is infinitely better than silence. Give your team something real to hold on to instead of letting them reach for speculation. Let us bring it all together. 5 things to walk away with. 1. The grapevine is not optional. It exists on every project, in every organization. Your job is not to eliminate it. Your job is to manage it. 2. Information vacuums are your biggest enemy. When you go silent, the grapevine fills the space with something worse than the truth. 3. In the digital age, a single forwarded screenshot can reach your entire global team in minutes. Your communication strategy needs to account for this. 4. Your informal leaders are hidden allies. Find them. Know them. brief them. They can be the difference between a rumor dying quietly and a rumor becoming a crisis. 5. The antidote to grapevine is not control. It is communication. Communicate early. Communicate honestly. Communicate often. That is how you build a team that trusts you enough to come to you first. Think about your current project. Has there been a moment recently where grapevine communication created confusion, anxiety, or a slowdown? What communication gap allowed it to start? And what is one thing you can do this week to close that gap? If this episode shifted the way you think about informal communication on your project, share it with one colleague or team member who would benefit from it today. Coming up next on The Catalyst, Choice Architecture. The science of how the structure of choices, not just the choices themselves, shapes what people decide. In project management, in leadership, in life. And how once you understand it, you cannot unsee it. Stay tuned.